The goal of this video is to discuss evaluating campaigns and the skills and resources that you can use to do that. So first we need to come up with the answer to this question: what is a campaign? A campaign is an organized effort by a candidate to win support in an election. There are a few different ways that people do campaigns. So there can be debating and speeches, passing out buttons and yard signs, and then probably the one that you see most common are TV commercials or commercials on YouTube. It's important to evaluate what you see to determine whether or not it's accurate. So when we say accurate, we mean we want it to be factual and unbiased. Factual means that it's something that can be proven to be true. So it's not opinion, it's fact. And then unbiased means that it sees both sides fairly or impartially. If something is biased, it means that it does not see both sides fairly and it pushes out one side over the other, ignoring the other side's point of view or fact. So we're going to look at some silly examples to determine whether things are factual or unbiased. And we're going to look at this quote that says, "Social studies is by far the best class in middle school. It is the most interesting and it should be the only class students take." This is not factual. It's an opinion because it's my opinion and it's not based in something that is true. It is the most interesting would be my opinion, but that's not a fact that can be proven. And then it is not unbiased. It is biased because I am a social studies teacher. And so I feel this way, and I am not looking at other perspectives or other points of view. If we looked at this quote, then I might say, "Math is an important class. All students take one math course per year." That is factual. It is provable that all students take one math course per year, and it's also provable that it's an important class. It's also unbiased because me as a social studies teacher, understanding that math is an important class is showing that I am not biased towards one class or another. I am using facts to provide this quote. There are two ways to evaluate for accuracy, and those are to evaluate the source and identify propaganda. The source tells you who created and or paid for something. So with this quote that we've already seen, social studies is by far the best class in middle school. It is the most interesting and it should be the only class students take. The source of that would be me, Miss Galton, because I am saying this, so I am the source. I created this quote. Next, we're going to look at identifying propaganda. Propaganda is information, especially of a biased or misleading nature, used to promote or publicize a particular political cause or point of view. So, in this quote, I am biased and I am misleading the person who's listening to it because I want social studies to be the class that everybody takes all the time. That is my point of view. So I am providing this information, even though it's biased and misleading, to try to promote my specific point of view. So this could be considered propaganda. So in this ad, we look at this ad from World War II. The first thing we want to do when looking at a poster or an advertisement is to evaluate the source. The source is very often listed at the bottom of these kinds of posters, or it's listed on the last screen or the bottom of a TV commercial. So here the source is the War Production Coordinating Committee. So this is a committee or a group dedicated to war production. And now we're going to identify propaganda. I used this example because it's widely known to be propaganda, and it also shows that propaganda isn't always bad. So the goal of this, the source of this, created it to try to convince women to join the workforce to help the war cause on the home front. So even though it is propaganda and it's biased and it's trying to promote a point of view, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's a bad thing. Now we're going to look at some actual political campaigns. So this is a campaign ad from the election of 1968 by Hubert Humphrey. Remember, the first task is to evaluate the source. The source of this would be Humphrey, the person who's trying to become president. This poster says, "Some talk change, others cause it. Humphrey, the best man for the job." So if we're trying to separate fact from opinion, it's pretty clear that saying that somebody is the best is an opinion. It might be a valid opinion and it might not be malicious in that they're trying to purposefully dissuade somebody, but it's not a fact. So this poster would be opinion. And then detecting bias. Humphrey is the person who wants to become president. So he's going to be biased toward himself, thinking that he's the best man for the job. And then finally, identifying propaganda. He is trying to promote his point of view and become president. So we could consider this propaganda. Again, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's bad or malicious, but I would say that this is not necessarily factual, it is biased, and it could be considered propaganda. We're going to look at one more. This is a campaign button for Eisenhower in the election of 1952, and it says, "I like Ike." Ike was Eisenhower's nickname, and this is a picture of him in the middle of the button. So if we're looking at the source of this would be Ike. The campaign for Eisenhower paid for these buttons and distributed them. So that is the source of this campaign. Separating fact from opinion. I like something is going to be pretty clearly opinion. And again, just because it's opinion doesn't mean that it's bad. It can be an opinion and not be bad or malicious. Detecting bias, the person who would be wearing this button or the person distributing this button is going to be biased toward Eisenhower, and it could be propaganda because he's trying to promote himself as president. So again, this campaign button is showing you that even though it's not bad and it's not malicious for it to be an opinion or for it to be biased, it does cover these strategies for evaluating a campaign. On your notes, we're going to fill in that strategies for evaluating campaign speeches, literatures, and advertisement for accuracy, including separating fact from opinion, detecting bias, evaluating sources, and identifying propaganda. When the video pauses, fill in your notes, and when you're finished, continue. We're going to quickly go over the mass media roles in elections. So as this is going through, you can write in your notes and then it'll pause at the end for you to complete your notes. So the role of media in elections includes identifying candidates. The media identifies candidates and advertises who they are and says who they are, whether that's through the commercials that are presented or whether it's through what's written in magazines or newspapers or what might happen in a news program, identifying who the candidates are. Emphasizing selected issues, talking about both sides, presenting facts on different issues. Another role is writing editorials, creating political art, cartoons, and publishing op-ed pieces. So these three are going to be presenting points of view or promoting different causes or different candidates or different parties. And then finally, broadcasting different parts of you is an important part of the mass media roles in elections. Fill in your notes, and when you're done with that, you are done with this video.